we'll learn the Sicha. The Rebbe connects it Chai El with Parshas Kisavai. Hakviyas the Shabbos Parshas Kisavai. Parshas Kisavai Lo'olam is besmichas the Chai El. Parshas Kisavai always comes in close proximity to Chai El. In other words, either it can be before, it can be on the same day, it can be a few days after, but they're always connected. They're always close by to each other, which we know Chai El is Yom Haledas Shnei HaMoedes HaGdolim. It's the birthday of the two great luminaries, Abal Shem Tov and Murazakin, the Abal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. B'Shavua the Parshas Kisavai. Either it comes out in the week of Parshas Kisavai, as I mentioned before, like this year, it's on Thursday, is Chai El. Or in the days of the week that they are received our bracha from the Shabbos beforehand, like the Shabbos Parshas Kisavai is the week, the Shabbos that benches all the rest of the days of the week, including when Chai El wasn't that Kviyat Shom Netzurut, where it wasn't Tavshim Memvav 1986. Hini yadu it's known Shemai de Ashana Koil Chai El Merumazim Gam BeParshas HaTorah Shekoyrim Bizmanim Elu. It's known, this is from the Shalah says this, the Rebbe brings this often, that the Yom Tovim of the year, including a Yom Tov like Chai El, is, and the Rebbe says that we find that Chai El is actually called a Yom Tov in the Sefer HaSichos of the Frierdiker Rebbe. So it's hinted also in the Parshas of the Torah that we read in that particular time. It's connected, it's associated. Okay, Torah had Morazakin Baal Hayom led us to Chai El, like the teaching of the Alter Rebbe, the one whose birthday was on the 18th of El, Shetzrichim Lichis Mazman, that one must live with the times. What does that mean to live with the times? Keloimar Shechayev Shel Yehudi Chaya Yom Yom, the life of a Yid, his day-to-day life. B'chol Prote and Yonim the Maisa Dibur Machshava, in all details of his matters of action, speech, and thought. Tzrichim li is chadurim be'inyan ha-Torah shekoyrim v'loimdim b'oisei hazman, need to be permeated with the matters of Torah that we read and we are studying in that time, which is Parsha Shavua, the Parsha of the week. So therefore that means that it's something that has to do with the Yom Tov that comes in that week. It has to be informed by and elevated by this Torah that we're learning. So Behes Malkach, top of the second column, Yeshlim Tzeis HaKesher V'Shayches the Chai El L'Parshas Kisavai. We need to find the connection, the association between Chai El and Parshas Kisavai. Benegel Avodah Apoil, concerning avoid our service in action. Hamaiso Ikir, action is what's primary. Kidl Kamon, as we will go on to explain. The Rebbe says in Ois Beis, Bir Hoyrah the Parshas Tavo, Kfi Sheba B'Shma Shel Parsha Tavo, the explanation of the lesson of Parshas Kisavai, the way it's expressed in the name of the Parsha Kisavai, like the Rebbe always speaks about, that the name of something, like the quote from the Rebbe in the footnote mentions, this is the Baal Shem Tov says, that the name, what it's called in Lashon Kodesh, that's its life force. So therefore, it doesn't just mean that the physical items of the world, like the Alter Rebbe says in Sharich V'Emunah, they get their life and vitality from the name of the item, like when Hashem called something light. So the letters Aleph Vav Reish Oyer is what gives it its life. But also Parshas Kisavai is the chayis of the entire parsha. So he says, "Aschos ha-parsha v'hoi kisavei la'aretz," the beginning of the parsha, and it will be when you will come to the land. Eina ella hakdama litzivuyim shetzrichim lekaimam la'acharei haknisa la'aretz. It's only an introduction to those mitzvahs that Hashem is enumerating that we will do when we come to Eretz Yisrael. This means to say, after you will come into the land. So it says, what should you do then? You shall take from the first fruits. You should go to the place that Hashem chooses, to the base of Migdash. And so too, in the continuation of the parsha, it's also talking about things that the person will do later on. It says, after you come into Eretz Yisrael, the day that you will cross the Yarden, the Jordan, to Eretz Yisrael, you shall erect big stones. You shall write on these stones all these words of the Torah, very well explained, as we will say later on. It's talking about being translated into the 70 languages. And another thing that you'll be doing after you come into Eretz Yisrael, these will stand to bless the people while facing the mountain of Grizim, while you cross the Yarden. So in other words, Kaloimar, the Parsha Savoy, loy medubar oidis hatzivu de knisa la'aretz, kibush v'chalukas ha'aretz, shekvar nemer Parsha shalifnezeh. In Parshas Kisava, it's not talking about the command that the Yidden have a mitzvah to enter Eretz Yisrael, or the command that they have to conquer it and divide the land, those which were already discussed in previous Parshas. Rather, what is the theme of Kisava about, the Parsha? What's it teaching us? Rather, it's about the fulfillment of the mitzvahs after entering Eretz Yisrael. And as opposed to the introduction, as we said, it's the introduction to the mitzvahs that he will talk about. So the introduction says, when you will come, that's a given. It's when you will come, you will do these mitzvahs. It's not a question if you will come, will you come, what are you supposed to do to be able to come. That's already taken care of. That's a given. That's already no discussion about it. Since we know as a fact that you will come, so then this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. So he says, Shemikivan Shikvar Yoidnim Bebirur V'ilu Heinedik Yisaveh ala Aretz Huk Shemikivan Shikvar Yoidnim Bebirur Bavados Gemura Shetaveh ala Aretz take from a yad. Since we already know in complete clarity, the Rebbe emphasizes this, as we will see why, that we're going to come to Eretz Yisrael immediately. Therefore, we need to be told the commandments, what we have to know to be able, when we go into Eretz Yisrael. You can't wait for the last minute. You got to tell them, because they're coming into Eretz Yisrael any minute. Even though the Kisavoi is only a way of like introduction or setting the background for what's going to happen later, the main thing is the mitzvahs that are supposed to be done once you come into Eretz Yisrael. Still in all, Shem HaParshu Tavoi. The name of the parsha is not Bikurim or other things you do in Eretz Yisrael. The name of the parsha is you will enter, you will come. The name of the parsha is not indicated by the commandments, by the mitzvahs that Yidden will have to do after entering Eretz Yisrael, which seems to be the content of the parsha. Ki'im, rather, al shem hayidiyah v'avadois disavay ala aretz hagdam l'toichna parsha. It's for the sake of the knowledge and the surety that you will definitely come to the Eretz Yisrael, which is seemingly only introduction to the content of the parsha. So as we always speak about, that the name of the parsha is what's primary, and it's the chayes of the whole parsha. Seemingly, the coming into Eretz Yisrael is only the background. It's not the main thing. So why is the name of the parsha Kisavoy when you will come, when the main point is the mitzvahs that you will do once you come into Eretz Yisrael? So the Rebbe explains V'tama Dover, the reason why the name of the parsha is Tavo, that you will come. Because when we know and are aware that we will surely come to the land, take it from Yad immediately. So then the preparation for fulfilling the mitzvahs after entering Eretz Yisrael is in a totally different way. If I know I'm going in a year, two, whatever, so then, okay, I might prepare, I'm studying the halachas, I need to know what they are. but I'm not so intensely involved in whatever preparations of knowing the halachas or whatever it is that I need to do before going into Eretz Yisrael. But if I'm told, Kisava el haaretz, this is an immediate thing, I'm sure this is happening immediately, that I'm going into Eretz Yisrael, so my preparation for those mitzvahs that I need to do once I go into Eretz Yisrael is going to be in a so much more powerful way. And here the Rebbe right away cuts to the point, and I'm sure you can guess where the Rebbe is going to go with this. Ois Gimel, 2 paragraphs from the bottom of the first column. From here we learn a lesson concerning our avodah and actuality in these days. The perfection, completion of the matter that when you will come to the land, top of the second column. It's hinting at, it's talking about the ultimate entrance to Eretz Yisrael. The ultimate entrance to Eretz Yisrael is with the true and complete redemption. Geulah she'einachara golus, a Geulah that has no golus following with a redemption that has no exile following it. That's a true entry, an entry that you are to remain over there for good. And then, when we will enter Eretz Yisrael with the Geulah, then we'll be fulfilling the Torah mitzvahs in the ultimate way possible, like the Rebbe always quotes what we have in the Musaf davening, that it says that we will fulfill the mitzvahs like your will, meaning we will finally do the mitzvahs the way you wished us to do, because only in Eretz Yisrael, with Moshiach's arrival, are we able to fulfill the mitzvahs in the utmost perfect way. So just like we said before, that when do you need to prepare before you go into Eretz Yisrael for the mitzvahs you're going to do in Eretz Yisrael. So the same thing now. We know we're going into Eretz Yisrael with Moshiach. We need to prepare for this already now. So the Rebbe says in the second paragraph, the preparation for this. Klolos havoida, the kiyum, ha'torah mitzvahs, v'zman ha'golos. What's the general preparation for going into Eretz Yisrael with Moshiach is the general avodah, fulfilling Torah mitzvahs in the time of exile. Ubemiyuchad, especially so, b'soif zman ha'golos. At the conclusion, at the end of the time of Golus, that is a preparation for what we will be doing when we are in Eretz Yisrael with Moshiach. B'loshon HaSifri, like the Sifri says, though I'm exiling you from Eretz Yisrael to outside of Eretz Yisrael, heyu mitziyonim b'mitzvahs, be outstanding with mitzvahs, that when you return to Eretz Yisrael, the mitzvah should not be far and new to you. The primary idea of the mitzvahs is to those that are living in the land, those that are inhabiting the land of Hashem with Mashiach's times. It's not that we don't have an obligation to do mitzvahs now, but like we said before, the ultimate fulfillment of mitzvahs is in Eretz Yisrael with Moshiach. Through the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs in these days, in a way of like marking and impressing for the future. Through this we merit the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs in the ultimate way, like the mitzvah of your will, after you will come to the land in the future redemption. From this is derived the lesson and the directive from the name of the parsha, Tavo. So that the avodah of preparation for fulfilling Torah mitzvahs, the way it's going to be like your will. When are we going to be fulfilling it like your will? When you come into Eretz Yisrael. And how do you reach that state? To fulfill through fulfilling Torah mitzvahs in the time of exile. How do you make sure that those mitzvahs that we are doing in preparation for the mitzvahs of Eretz Yisrael, tiyeh k'deboy, should be appropriate and the way it's supposed to be? It's necessary that a Jew should be permeated with a verified knowledge and a clear knowledge and awareness should take it from miyad tavei la'aretz, that immediately you're coming into Eretz Yisrael. Knisa u'bia la'aretz v'poel mamish, entering and coming into Eretz Yisrael in actuality. U'ba'ofen dev'yirishta v'yeshavta ba, in a way that you will inherit her and you will settle her. Shekain, that knowledge, that awareness that we're coming immediately into Eretz Yisrael, Yediyah zu payala, such a knowledge and awareness influences and affects sheyuchal izgaber benokil, they should be able to overcome easily al kol alamis v'asteirim the chashchas agolos, over all concealments and coverings of the darkness of exile, v'lavid avidase besimcha v'tuvlevav, and to do his service with joy and gladness of heart. How come? Biyadai, by knowing shecheshchas hagolos, that the darkness of the exile eina ela lefisha belvad, it's only a temporary darkness. V'take it from miyad tavei la'aretz v'yirishta v'yishavta ba, and immediately you will come to the land and you will settle it and you will inherit it and settle it. Based on this theme and this idea in Parshas Kisavai and in the name Tavo, Al Pisa moving Akesh of Rashachs to Parshas Tavi l'Chayel. According to this, understood the connection, association of Parshas Tavi to Chayel. Chayel Yom Uledes, the Baal Shem Tov Admor Azokin, it's the birthday of Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. Shein Yonam Geulah v'Afotzas Toras Chassidus, the idea of both of them, the Baal Shem Tov and Alter Rebbe is revealing and spreading out the Torah of Chassidus. Halchom Geulah Toras Chassidus Achlos idea Baal Shem Tov, beginning from the revelation of the teachings of Chassidus through the Baal Shem Tov. Ad Geulah Toras Chassidus Chabad idea Admor Azokin, until the revelation of the teachings of Chassidus Chabad through the Alter Rebbe. Val Pi Hayidu, according to what it's known, Geulah Iludiyah Meledes Shel Tzadikim, the great advantage and the quality of the date of the birth of Tzadikim. Sha'oz Mazolei Goiver, top of the second column. Then, when Tzadikim are born, their mazel is an ascendancy. It's not only by tzaddikim their mazel and ascendancy, but since they're a tzaddik, their mazel is obviously something very special when it's ascendant. Moving, it's understood, should be Yom Zeh, and this day of Chayel, the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, Yeshna Yiskabris Yiseda Begili V'Afotas Toras Chassidus, there is an even greater power and strength in the revelation, the spreading out of Toras Chassidus, which is connected with Moshiach, as we all know. The revelation and the spreading of and disseminating of the teachings of Chassidus acts as a preparation for the coming of Moshiach. As it's known what the Baal Shem Tov heard in Mashiach's chamber in Gan Eden, from the mouth of Moshiach. But Mainal Shalos, in response to the question of Baal Shem Tov, when is the master coming? And so the Moshiach answered the Baal Shem Tov, when your teachings will become well known, and v'yisgala ba'olam, and it will become revealed in the world, via futzma, and your wellsprings will be disseminated outward. The primary of the primary of the wellsprings being spread outward, Nasai the Geulah Toras Chassidus Chabad, comes about through the revelations of the teachings of Chassidus Chabad. Ba'ofen the Isparnason, the way that they become sustained. In other words, it's something that is ingested in the person, just like food sustains a person. The same thing, an intellectual idea that can be digested intellectually is something that sustains them. In understanding and grasp of the Chochmah Bina Das of the soul. This is the connection between Parshas Tavi and Chayel. After the revelation and the spreading of the teachings of Chassidus, which is Teichen the Chayel, that's the whole content of what Chayel is about. That's dissemination of Chassidus. So that's even more added in the strength, in the clarity and the surety that immediately it will come to the land. Why does this become more sure? because of what we know, we've expressed in 200 years of teaching Chassidus, since it was already fulfilled, that your well springs should be spread out. So the road was paved for the Master coming, Bias Malch Mashiach, the King Moshiach coming. Then you will come to the land, the Klal Yisrael will come to the land, you will inherit it, you will settle it in the ultimate perfect way. And therefore, automatically, also the avoida of preparing for that time is done in the ultimate way, because we have that special energy that results from the spreading of Chassidus, which paves the road for Moshiach. V'adgoshi Yisera is the last paragraph on the page, and even greater emphasis. After we have the spreading of the well springs outward, which is the content of the idea of Chayel, in the ultimate spreading out, till we're reaching outward, that there's nothing further in it, there's nothing more outward in it. It also reflects what we are told in Parsh Kisavi v'chasafta goymer kol divrei HaTorah hazois bayir heitiv. You should write all these words of Torah very well explained. Chazal say, what does it mean very well explained that was written? B'shivim lashon in 70 languages. So in a similar vein, through the leader of our generation, that he directed that it should be done in spread out in languages, in the 70 languages. Through the Frierdiker Rebbe was the spreading out and the disseminating of Torah Chassidus also in the languages of the nations. So that is an even greater spreading out of the Torah of Chassidus, which is an even greater vessel for Mashiach's coming. So the Rebbe explains, what is the reason for the 70 languages? Why is there a reason to write the Torah on these stones, whatever, in 70 languages? What's the purpose behind it? And then we're going to apply this also concerning Chassidus. So he says, the idea behind this is the need for writing the Torah, including the inner part of the Torah, b'shivim lashon, in 70 languages. When we come in close proximity to the time when you will come to the land, Geulah, mitzvah shleima, and the true and complete redemption. There's two reasons why it's necessary that specifically at this occasion we need to reveal these types of parts of Torah and Chassidus. Aleph, b'shvil umas ha'olam. First of all, for the nations of the world. This is necessary for them to be able to study Chassidus. Because in the future it says that foreigners, meaning not Jews, will arise and they will take your sheep out to pasture. Like the expression in the Haftorah of Parsh Kisavoy, and the foreigners will build up your walls and their kings will serve you. The Yisayim is even more so about Mashiach's times. Then I will transform to all the nations a clear language. And the Rebbe says, Lashon HaKodesh, literally that they will be speaking, they will be able to understand Lashon Kodesh according to the Mefarshim on that pasuk on Oz Efech. That they should all serve Hashem together. So therefore, since that's what can happen when Mashiach comes, we need to prepare them. Therefore, there needs to be a preparation for this in these days. Through them studying those matters of Torah that's associated with them. What types of topics are associated to them? Including also matters of belief and faith in Hashem that are explained in the teachings of Chassidus. They should know about Hashem the way Chassidus teaches about Hashem. And how does that happen? Through translating it into the language of the nations. Safis, Shein, and Bruris, these languages that are not clear, that do not have the clarity of Lashon Kodesh. Beis, another reason why we need to translate the Chassidus and Torah in general when it's almost the time of Moshiach's coming. Gam b'shvil b'nei Yisrael, also for Yidden. The Mekivim sha'Geulah tzricha lavi ba'ofen dachishena. Since the Geulah has to come in a way that I will speed it up. Ein zman lahamtin ad sheyuchlu tapras and kalm lilmoid v'lhavim Torah Chassidus. We cannot wait until every single Jew will be able to study and understand the teachings of Chassidus, which we know, spreading the wellsprings outward is preparation for the coming of Moshiach, but Lashon HaKodesh. We can't wait for them to be able to learn and know Chassidus in the Holy Tongue, in Lashon Kodesh. Because the majority and almost all of the Yidden at present do not understand Lashon Kodesh, but rather let's not wait for them to master the language. We have to study with every single Yid Chassidus in the language of every nation and every people that they speak in. Regardless, the spreading and the disseminating of Chassidus in the languages of the nations of the world, emphasized even more so that we find ourselves very close, mamish, to when you will come to the land, Geulah, Sicha, and the future redemption. This knowledge and awareness affects and influences, as we said, when we know that just about to come. So even what we're doing now is in a greater way, in a more passionate type of way. Let's skip over a little. Let's see over here. 1 second. Okay. Well, we'll continue this also. Oizvav. Ha'amar le'el mudgish gam b'smichas de chayel v'Shabbos parshas Tavo l'tes vavel. What we just now said is emphasized even more with the closeness of Chayel and the Shabbos parshas Tavo to the 15th of El. Tomorrow is the 15th of El, and this has to do with the founding of Temchat Mimim. Let's skip over 3 lines after the line, the slash, the dash, and middle line. Yom Hisyastus Hiledes Yeshivas Temchat Mimim. It's the founding day, which you can also liken it to a birthday, just like Chayel is the birthday of Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. So Tes Vavel is the founding day, i.e. birthday of Temchat Mimim. From the primary involvement of my father-in-law, the leader of our generation, that through him came the revelation and the spreading of the wellsprings in a way that's very well explained, meaning in other languages other than Lashon Kodesh. Was he Yosef Menayel Poil? He was the director, he was the principal, the Yeshivas Temchat Mimim, of the Yeshivas Temchat Mimim ba'ofen kavua v'nitzchi, in an established and a set way and forever. It wasn't just a temporary job. V'ad kedei kach, to such a degree, shes yastos ha'yeshiva ha'isa b'yachad im chasanas kvot yizmoyer chamyad mor shes kaim b'yud gimel el. The founding of the Yeshivas Temchat Mimim was in connection and together with the marriage of my father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, which took place on the 13th of Elul, Tov Reish Nun Zayin, 1897. And the founding of the yeshiva took place b'shivas Yemei HaMishta, in the 7 days of the celebration, the Sheva Brachos, so B'hem Gufa B'yem HaShlishi, and it was amongst the 7 days. It was in the 3rd day, if he was married on the 13th of El. So then there's the 14th and the 15th, so it was the 3rd day of his being married. It's known that 3 days are considered like one one connection, and this is good to know for many different things. If a person wants to, do something that they couldn't do a certain day, they can always do it within 3 days. Some different things. I'm not going to get into this right now. Me'ura klali v'ikri b'chaye kol odam v'alachas kam v'kama etzel b'nei Yisrael b'frat tzadikim v'nesi Yisrael. Marriage is a very general event and a primary event in the life of every person, and how much more so by Jewish people, and even more so by tzaddikim and leaders of Yidden, especially Nasi Ador, the leader of the generation. Ad kedei kach, to such a degree, shazoi shlemus mitziyusei, that the marriage is considered the perfection of the person's being. Zachar nekeva bra'am, it says in the Chumash that he created a male and female. Va'oz dafka v'yikra shmam Adam. Only then is he called Adam. That means prior to that, he has not yet earned the perfection of being an Adam. So therefore, the marriage of the Frierdiker Rebbe brought him to that perfection as well. And in connection with that marriage was when it was established Tomchet Mimim, and when the Frierdiker Rebbe was appointed its director. What's the chiddush of Tomchet Mimim? That Torah's Chassidus should be in a way of being settled. It's called the yeshiva. What does it mean, yeshiva? A study in a way that you're settled. Skip the parentheses. Limud ba'ofen shalavana v'asagya, to study the topic of Chassidus in a way of understanding, comprehension. Limud asugya begalish b'Torah. The Rebbe Rashab writes that one should learn in Tomchet Mimim the topics of Chassidus, like they would learn involved topics in the revealed part of Torah. Through a yeshiva type of study of Chassidus, we speed up even more so the coming of Moshiach Tzidkenu. And even more specifically, we find how the establishment of Tomchet Mimim was directly connected by the Rebbe Rashab to the coming of Moshiach. One of the sichas that the Rebbe Rashab said during the founding of the yeshiva on the 18th of Elul, Tavresh Nun Zayin, Amar Kvaytutus Admon Rashab Nishmaseiden, top of the second column, the Rebbe Rashab said, Ba'aschol lazu b'yeshiva, in this beginning of a yeshiva, Hinani Madlik es ha'ma'oris, I am kindling the luminaries, Shemereinu Baal Shem Tov Rabbeim hinchilonu, that our master, the Baal Shem Tov, and the Rabbeim gave us as an inheritance, so that it should be fulfilled the promise of the spreading of your wellsprings outward, to speed up the coming of Mashiach. So the Rebbe Rashab specifically said that the founding of Tomchet Mimim is there to conclude and to complete and to have its culmination finally of the promise that Baal Shem Tov was given about Mashiach coming, when the Chassidus will be spread. This is explained even more at length and more specifically in the well-known talk of the Rebbe Rashab concerning the topic, whoever goes out to the battle of Beis David, Shetoichna, that the content is Shetalmidei Tomchet Mimim Chayil Beis David, that the students of Tomchet Mimim are the soldiers of the house of David. David is also associated with Mashiach. Their job is to battle those that are undermining the steps of Mashiach. Meaning, his achras Mashiachecha, the delay of Mashiach, shemisachar lavoi, and and he's coming so late, and they're saying that he'll never come. So the job of the students in Tomchet Mimim is to undo that, to stop that type of attitude. Like the words in the Medrash, if you see a generation that is scoffing and that is speaking negative things, await the foot of Mashiach. Matam, what's the reason that you should await? because it says in the pasuk, it says that your enemies Hashem had shamed, and they had shamed the footsteps of Moshiach, v'ksiv basrei, and afterwards it says, Baruch Hashem lo'olam amin va'amin, that Hashem is blessed forever, amin va'amin, which that pasuk refers to the times of Moshiach. So we see that specifically when you need to do battle with those that are denying Moshiach, that itself is an indication Moshiach is about to come. This war is accomplished through the revelation of the light of Chassidus, Geulah Yard Mashiach ben David, the revelation of the light of Mashiach, the son of David, because they are the troops of the house of David. And through them strengthening the belief in the true redemption, the complete redemption through Mashiach, like it's explained at length in that Sicha. When Nimtza comes out, that the founding of the Yeshiva of Temchet at the 15th of El, it adds even more so in clarity and surety, that you will come to the land, that you will inherit it and you will settle in it, take from Miyad immediately. So we're going to skip over to Ois Tes on the next page. Oops. Turn to the wrong page. We're going to go to the third paragraph on the page, Ois Tes. The lesson from all that we learned before. Lamaisa Poil, in actual action, Yomim Elu, these days, Mitesvav El Ad Chayil, from the 15th of El until the 18th of El. V'cheina Yom Masmuchim Aleim, and also the days in proximity to them. Hem Yemeis Geulah, these are auspicious days. Lifel Ba'afotas Hayadas, Ba'afotas Hamayonos Chutza, to do actions in spreading Yiddishkeit and spreading the wellsprings outward, to quicken the true and complete redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu in actuality. Therefore, it's worthwhile and correct that every single place, they should make fabrengens and gatherings for all Jewish people. I should be that in these days, through the much spreading of the wellsprings outward, the Rebbe says, there is not a single Jewish person that was not affected in some way, in some smidgen of a way, through the effect and influence of the Yeshiva of Temchet Mimim, that raised up the soldiers of the house of David, that they spread Torah and Yiddishkeit in all the ends of the globe. In those fabrengens, that they should inspire about the strengthening and increasing in all matters of Yiddishkeit, Torah, mitzvah, Torah and its mitzvahs, in a way of, in a new fashion. Every day the Torah mitzvah should be new to you. Including and specifically the matters of the service in the month of El, the El, the Torah, Avodah, Tefillah, V'Gimel Chasadim. It's hinted all matters of service, of the three lines of service of Torah and service of Hashem, which is davening and doing acts of kindness. Bagdamas HaTshuva, prefaced by Tshuva, as we mentioned, because the Tshuva makes the actions luminous. And also the idea of redemption is hinted in the Rosh Tevis of El. Like we've spoken about at length in the Fabrengens prior to this Fabrengen. And a special emphasis that the Fabrengen should be used for strengthening our belief in the coming of Moshiach, as opposed to those that are saying that Moshiach is not coming. To make it well known and to let everybody know, all projected ends that were said by Chazal already concluded. Ubemela, and therefore, Im dohachin kulchem, all you should stand ready, like Hanis Lords, to enter the land. Tavo Lords, you will come to the land, V'yishta v'shafta ba, and you will inherit it and settle it, take from a yard immediately. How do we do that? Through concluding the final refinements and elevations in the of the time of exile, like the famous expression, to polish the buttons, shall big the asrod of the uniforms, to greet Moshiach. And those places that for whatever reason they did not have sufficient time to be able to make these fabrenges before Chayel, Yashlimu Zois la'achre Chayel, they should make it up after Chayel. Besmichas achiav shoris, and as close as possible to Chayel, ubeoifen tekiflayim l'tashia, in a way that double for strength. In other words, they should make up for this by doubling the power of fabrengen. So the Rebbe says, Nois Yud v'yiratzen should be the will of Hashem, shekabal sachlotas tovis b'chol amr le'il. Tavi take of Aschar, they're accepting on the good resolutions, and everything that we said before will bring immediately the reward, which is Geulah mitzvah shlema de Moshiach tzedkeinu, the true and complete redemption through Moshiach. Sha'az Tavi al arz gam v'yirishtu v'shavtu b'shlema sa'aretz. Through that you will come to the land, and you will inherit it, and you will settle it. Which means the completion of the land, the totality of the land, top of the second column, b'lashon haftarah, like the language of the haftarah, siyam v'chosim parshas Kisavai, which is considered the conclusion of the Torah reading of parshas Kisavai. Kulam niktu b'olach b'nayich v'necha merachik yavoy b'nesayich al tzateh mana, that all have gathered and come to you. Your sons from afar will come, and your daughters will also be there. Shleimus ha'am, they will be the faithful ones. This is the perfection of the nation. So you have the perfection of the land, the perfection of the nation. Asher yorshu eretz the Avinu Avram, they inherited the land of our father Avram. Eretz Eser Amamin, the land of the 10 nations. Shleimus ha'aretz, the perfection of the land. Ba'ifn the Yarchav Hashem, like it says, when Hashem will broaden your boundaries to include also the lands of the Keni, Knizi, V'Kadmoini, Amoin, and Moav, and Edom. The kas from Azav mitam, their silver and gold will be with them. Hen kesu Azav kipshuti, both silver and gold in the literal sense. Hen kesu Azav ruchnium, and also silver and gold are spiritual silver and gold, which is Avas Hashem is called silver from the word kisufim, desire of Yiras Hashem, the awe of Hashem. Hakolim ramach mitzvot v'shasam mitzvot. These include the 248 positive commandments, as the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that love of Hashem is the source for and the root of all the positive commandments, and awe of Hashem is the source and the root for all the 365 negative commandments, which means we will have Shleimus HaTorah Mitzvah, the perfection of Torah and its mitzvahs, and all this speedily in our days, Mamish Oru Manan Shmaya, behold with the clouds of heaven, and B'lashon HaTorah, and the expression of the Torah, Mi Elokov to Fenogaimer. Who are these that they are flying like the clouds? Until the conclusion, the seal of the Haftorah, Ani Hashem be'ita achshana, I Hashem in its time will speed this up.